Everything that you desire right now and don't have is on the other side of something you don't know or haven't learned and implemented yet. So whether or not you realize this, the learning gap is the earning gap. Back in the olden days, as they used to say back in the olden days, right? Back in the olden days, it made sense to specialize in a thing and to go and get educated in that thing over a long period of time so you can do that one thing for the rest of your life. Wealth transfers from sector to sector, from era to era. Wealth transfers into different sectors. What does that mean? Well, if you look at from the beginning of time, Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, through the mid-1700s, the economic infrastructure of the world is based on agriculture. And so the wealth was based on land and how much land you owned. And if you raise crops or you raise cattle on that land, you can be wealthy, right? Change happened very, very slowly because you had one seed time and one harvest time every year. So you had one opportunity per year to create wealth. Fast forward to the mid-1700s, we go from the agricultural age, we go into the industrial age, and we start using more machines and more technology to farm the land and to transport what we farmed. And so it increases productivity because of technology. And in the industrial age, in the agricultural age, if you were born into a wealthy family, you were born rich and you lived rich and you died rich unless some other country came and conquered your land and stole your wealth, right? You would live wealthy your whole life. But in the industrial age, it created the new rich. People who weren't rich when they were born, but they lived rich and died rich, right? And there are lots of industrial age moguls that we can think about, whether it be Rockefeller, whether it be Ford, whether it be Carnegie. So many people in that era created wealth because of technology and machines. And interestingly enough, the industrial age lasted from the mid-1700s to the mid-1900s, a couple hundred years. And in the mid-1900s, because we were producing so much stuff with all of our machines, that we had to figure out a way to get all the stuff we're producing distributed all over the world. And so we went from the industrial age to the distribution age, and the distribution age started in around, like really blew up in the mid-1950s, all the way through the mid-1970s, through like 1978. And so more wealth was created in the industrial age than the agricultural age, and more wealth was created in the distribution age than in the agriculture and then in the industrial age. But then in 1978, they created the personal computer, and the personal computer introduced the technology age. And in the technology age, like techno-how was wealth. And you had Bill Gates and Steve Jobs and Michael Dell and Steve Wozniak, these kids that were in their 20s who were becoming millionaires and decamillionaires and hectamillionaires and billionaires in their 20s and 30s. Like, what is this? Like, who does that? And I don't know if some of y'all are old enough to remember that back in the late 70s, early 80s, everybody wanted to go to school for computer programming, right? But they didn't realize that Bill Gates started programming computers in 1968. So he had 10 years jump on the economic era. He had 10 years of preparation to prepare for the economic era that he made his fortune in, right? But he learned a skill before that skill was necessary. He showed up early. And then we went from the from 1978 to the mid-1990s. In the 1990s, we got introduced to the internet through Prodigy and CompuServe. Some of y'all are like, Prodigy, who, what, and did what? So some of y'all are old enough to remember when the internet was nothing more than bulletin boards. And I'm like, why would somebody want to read those black screens with green letters? Who cares, right? And more wealth was created. And then people started learning how to use technology to educate people and entertain people in an educational way and educate people in an entertaining way. And what I call the techno-info edutainment age was born, right? And that was from like 2003 to 2008. You say, Myron, what are you saying? I'm saying that each economic era, if you've noticed this, lasted for a shorter period of time, which means the people who lived in that economic era had less time to tool up. Each subsequent economic era had less time to tool up and less time to work in the field that they learned to work in. Well, as time progresses, that becomes even more true over time. So wealth in the present and future age belongs to the people who can learn new things the fastest and implement them the soonest. That's where wealth is. Wealth is not in knowing what used to be true, because what used to be true ain't necessarily true anymore. There was a time when telling all of our children what you need to do is you need to go to school and you need to study hard, get good grades, you can graduate and get a good job with a good company and they'll take care of you. There was a time that made sense. But by the time a person graduates from college, the textbooks they used at least in their sophomore and freshman year are outdated. It doesn't even matter anymore. And so we have to learn things faster than we used to learn things. And what made me think about this, I was reading some comments on the video that I just posted, I think this week, called Automatic Money Machines. Somebody said, well, Myron's showing us all this money that he makes from selling books, but what if you don't know what to write about? What if you don't know how to write a book? What if you don't know how to sell a book? What if you don't know how? And I'm not even making fun of that. I'm saying it slowly because I want us to think about, what if you don't know how? You didn't know how to walk, talk, or go to the bathroom when you landed on this planet. And you think not knowing is an inhibition, like a real one? You couldn't ride a bike, you couldn't use a phone, you couldn't use a computer, you couldn't use a television set, you couldn't write, you couldn't read, you couldn't do arithmetic, and you think not knowing is a reason to keep from doing something when there's more information on how to do everything today than there's ever been in the history of the world? Really? Like, I get it. You graduated from high school already. I get it. You graduated from college already. I get it. You got good grades. I get it. They told you were smart. But if you bought into that enough to stop learning, you might find yourself as an educated fool. Because the world is changing way too fast for you to only know what you learned last year. This old dude learned more this week than people who are thinking it's hard have learned in the last 3 years. You know why? Because I know the gap between what I know and what I don't know is way bigger than the entire body of knowledge that I've learned in my 62 years. And while other people are saying, but what do I do? I'm looking for, how do I get it done? So, because I don't know how to do it. Okay, well, there was a time, like when I was growing up, you didn't know how to do it. You had to take a class, or you had to go to school, or you had to go to the library and get a book, or to a bookstore and get a book. Now you can watch it on YouTube, you can listen to it on Audible, you can listen to it on a podcast. There is so much, but I don't know which information to listen to. Listen to the stuff that's going to help you do the thing that's going to move the needle for you. Watch the stuff that's going to help you learn the skills that are going to move the needle for you. Find somebody who reminds you of you, only smarter. Learn what they know and don't change it. Just go do it until you figure out how to do your own thing. Because your own thing is just a combination of all the things of all the people you done copied already. You didn't invent walking, baby. I am a very slow reader. But I'm a very fast audiobook listener to her. I get more out of an audiobook listening to it at 2 times speed than I do getting it, like listening to it at 1 time speed. I mean, it's just like, I don't even know. What is this dude talking about? So it sounds like he's talking backwards, right? Okay, anyway. So, but learning is just as challenging for me as it is for anybody else. But here's the difference. I know the time's gonna go by anyway, so I might as well learn it. Everything that you desired, all the money you desire to earn, is on the other side of what you haven't learned and implemented yet. And guess what? The best time to start learning was 20 years ago. The next best time is now.